Cook's Canyon, Journey of Death. As A.W. Thornton Parker, MD, said in the Annals of Fort Cummings, New Mexico, 1876 to 1878, or 1868, Cook's Canyon, which slices across southwestern New Mexico's Cook's Range, was a journey of death. Onward and upward, boys. Here we go. It's pretty late in the day right now, but I think I'm gonna camp right here. But I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna try to go in, go down about, I don't know, several miles and then circle back around these ridges right here. See what I can find. I think this is where the old Butterfield Trail came through here. Surely we go up over the top. Come on, Agnes, I didn't say whoa. Surely we go up over the top and then drop down, and that is Cook's Canyon or Massacre Canyon. I don't know. When I get up here, I'll check my OnX Maps and see if they have it marked. I've only been down to the ruins down there before, and I've been north of there up towards Cook's Peak and around, but years ago. I came off of there way after dark one time. I don't know if you can tell, this is what it looks like right now, these mountains after dark. But yeah, that canyon's got to be right up here somewhere. Around in here somewhere. I bet this is it. Can you imagine coming through here with the Butterfield stagecoach or one of those stagecoaches and knowing that there's could be Apaches, Cochise, and Geronimo, or all them hanging out in these bluffs and stuff, waiting to ambush you? Well, I made a mistake. On the OnX Maps, it flips to give you north, or you can push the little deal, the little button, and it'll have like a little blue deal showing you the way that you're heading, the way you're pointing. And I looked at it the wrong way. That Cook's Canyon and Cook's Station is back behind me. An old man mistake. I guess I just didn't look at it right. But anyway, that's okay. I just want to make a circle in here anyway. I'm going to climb up, follow this. This is, I guess, all on that rancher's private property. And he's got little 2-track roads all over here. But I seen some bluffs up here I want to go check out. So I'm going to ride up here on top and check out these bluffs and then circle around, drop back down to my truck. And then I'll get a better idea of where that canyon is. I want to ride that canyon. See that mountain right there? Very tallest peak. That's called Cook's Peak. There's a trail that goes to the top of that thing. And I heard a buddy of mine got his horse to the top of it. I'm kind of wondering. I wonder if me and old Agnes could get up there on top. I think I'm going to try someday. Let's go right to the top. Wouldn't that be something? You want to try that, Agnes? Agnes. That Butterfield Trail came right through there, through those flats. Just straight as I'm pointing, right there. You can see that flat top mountain way in the distance. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. But it went right next to that mountain. Came across the flats. It's on the other side of this ridge and then turns and goes up right there. That's Cook's Canyon. It's gonna get dark on me. I gotta get back to the truck. It's a little old 3.74 mile circle. Elevation here is 5,053 feet. It is 4:45 right now. We're gone 2 hours and 38 minutes. Get in. Hey, get in. Come on, Rusty, get in. Come here, Rusty. Let me see. Did I get your collar out? Get in, Polo. Get in, Jack. Agnes got her some grass hay. I got me a little fire. Not a bad camp. Now to sit down. The Apache struck Cook's Canyon as well as other locations, of course, with the intentions of preserving their wilderness home from the intruders who had come to conquer Apache lands, build unwelcome settlements, trap out the fur-bearing animals, decimate mineral-laden hillsides and stream beds, graze out the grasslands, and exterminate or drive out the Indian peoples. In the early 1860s, the Apaches must have believed that the timing was ideal. They watched as their foes, preoccupied with the Civil War, withdrew fighting men from the west and dispatched them to eastern battlefields. The Apaches knew their enemy had grown weaker. They could see that civilian populations had become more vulnerable. They believed that the time had come. Intimately familiar with their land, the Apaches knew that Cook's Canyon offered perfect opportunities to waylay an adversary. Although a rugged passage, it had long drawn travelers because of its eastern end. It had Cook's Spring. There you go. The only water on the 70-80 mile stretch across the desert between the Rio Grande to the east and the Mimbres River to the west. In fact, prehistoric peoples had passed and camped by the spring over centuries, leaving ceramic and other artifacts behind. In historic times, civilian expeditions and military units followed the trail past the spring. There's a lot of history here. It's pretty cool. Two stage lines, the Butterfield and San Antonio, San Diego mail and passenger service, maintained a way station near the spring further. Cook's Canyon offered the Apaches perfect ambush sites, and the hills and cliffs overlooking the trail and boundaries, and brush providing concealment and protection. Even the U.S. Army built and manned Fort Cummings near Cook Spring in 1863, with the intention of protecting those who ventured through the canyon. The Apaches continued their relentless campaign. Probably many of the Apache attacks in Cook's Canyon went unnoted, except for the bodies that travelers sometimes encountered and covered with stones along the trail. Some conflicts, however, became storied battles and do appear in the written record. The Egg Party attack. Summer of 1861. In the summer of 1861, Mangus Cochise discovered an irresistible target was approaching Cook's Canyon from the west, known as the Egg Party, after member Felix Grundier. It included said Edwin R. Sweeney, Mangus Coloradus, chief of the Chiricahua Apaches, several ranchers and their families fleeing the Apache retreat in southern Arizona, and several people heading east from Tucson. The 8 caravan consisted of 7 wagons and 2 buggies, several men on horses, and most tempting to the Apaches, well over 1,000 head of livestock. The Apaches, probably with some 200 warriors, set an ambush near the western end of the canyon's gorge. They watched the 8 party approach. About the middle of the morning, drovers herded the livestock into the gorge first. I'm missing a page, but that's okay. The Oak Grove Massacre, January 17, 1866. The Apache also turned their wrath on Fort Cummings troops. In the winter of 1866, they discovered a wood-cutting detail of 7 soldiers at Oak Grove, about 5 miles northwest of the fort. According to the New Mexico genealogist, March 1969, Corporal Weber, in charge of the detail, commanded 6 privates, Ronan, Hunter, Devon, and Daly, Matthews, and Goldsberry. They all belonged to Company G, 1st Veteran Infantry, California Volunteers. At Oak Grove, as the Apaches found, the detail had established its camp and gone to work cutting and gathering badly needed winter firewood for the post. On January 16th, Corporal Weber returned to Fort Cummings to replenish provisions for his men. The next morning, several dozen Apaches attacked the Oak Grove campsite just at breakfast time. Okay. Overwhelming the 6 privates as they rushed to pick up their arms to return fire. With bows and firearms, the Apaches shot Ronan, Hunter, Devon, and Daly, whose bodies, after the battle, they would mutilate with lances. Somehow, the Apaches let Matthews and Goldsberry escape, although one of the warriors drove an arrow into Goldsberry's hip. The 2 privates straggled back to Fort Cummings, finally encountering Weber returning to Oak Grove with the provisions. Notified of the attack, Weber promptly alerted the post. Lieutenant John D. Slocum marshaled every available man and rushed his forces to the Oak Grove encampment. As he would discover, the Apaches, having now departed, had left the 4 privates' bodies, as well as one of their own, lying on the battlefield. They had looted and destroyed the campsite. They left Slocum in the sad duty of returning the 4 bodies to Fort Cummings, where the troops conducted formal last rites and buried the men in a cemetery. Dang. That's rough stuff right there now. The violence in Cook's Canyon would continue for more than a decade, until the Chiricahuas' tenacious defense of their wilderness home finally faded before superior U.S. military forces. Moreover, they had lost their legendary leaders. Mangus Coloradus, captured and imprisoned at Fort McLean west of Cook's Range, was murdered on January 18, 1863, by soldiers obeying treacherous orders of Brigadier General Joseph Rodman West. Cochise, suffering from a long illness, possibly stomach cancer, died at Fort Bowie in southeastern Arizona on June 8, 1874. With the Apache threat having abated in Cook's Canyon, the Army abandoned Fort Cummings in 1863. But when a new Apache leader, Victoria, resumed attacks against the invaders in the area a few years later, the Army reopened the post in 1880. It would remain open until the Apache Wars ended with the surrender of Geronimo at Skeleton Canyon in 1886 in southwestern New Mexico. While much of the violent history of Cook's Canyon, the journey of death, has been lost, fragmentary tales of conflict continued to surface over the years. I listened with anxiety to the stories told me by frontiersmen about the dreadful massacres perpetrated by the Indians in that dread gorge, said Parker. It was said that even soldiers dared not stir a mile from the post, and that it was just a toss-up whether any traveler got through alive. Not long after the Freeman Thomas massacre, and near the same location, 8 or 9 Mexican herdsmen driving 40 head of cattle to the mining town of Pinos Altos paused to have lunch. The Apaches surrounded and massacred them all, according to Sweeney. They were found in a pile, horribly mutilated. Soon after Fort Cummings was reopened in 1880, Victorio and his Apache warriors massacred a man named Samuel Lyons and 3 companions in Cook's Canyon, according to the Roots Web Ancestry site. Louis Tarrant, in an account provided to the WPA Writers Project on August 12, 1938, Apaches attacked a caravan of farmers hauling produce through Cook's Canyon in the summer of 1884. The Indians attacked the ox-drawn carts. The way of traveling at the time was in 2-wheeled carts with a fairly large bed to carry merchandise. The caravan was soon massacred and the complete load of merchandise was destroyed. Among those murdered was my father. Not my father, but whoever's this was. My fire is just about gone. The Fort Cummings Cemetery. Some travelers through Cook's Canyon buried bodies where they found them, often covering the remains with rocks to discourage scavenging by wild animals. Some of those graves remain visible along the canyon trail today. Other travelers who passed through the canyon after the military along the canyon trail today. Other travelers who passed through the canyon after the military established Fort Cummings reported that many exposed human skeletons lay near the trail. According to the Roots Web ancestry site, commanding officers dispatched soldiers to collect the remains, which they returned to the fort. They buried them, probably in a common grave, in a newly established port cemetery on a nearby ridge. It remains now to serve as a grim reminder of the journey of death. You can still follow the old trail through Cook's Canyon, perhaps even finding an occasional grave. On my last trip, the road was very rough, especially near the western end of the canyon. You will certainly need a four-wheel drive, high-clearance vehicle, or a mule. Pretty interesting stuff. Rough old place. And those Indians were bad dudes. Good night, guys. Time to get in the sack. Just gonna go right that direction. Onward and upward, boys. That's the start of the start of Massacre Canyon right there, or Cook's Canyon. No picture of a mule there. Here it is. One of these peaks they call Massacre Peak. I don't know which one. It's a pretty well driven road right through here. Last night I had some deer hunters come out. Nice guys, nice kids, young guys. Can you just imagine the Indians being up on the sides of these hills, just waiting for them to get into a pinch point, into a bad canyon, and then they descend on them. I wonder if they really talked like that, like they did in the Western movies. You think? I bet they didn't. I bet they were pretty quiet. That must be Massacre Peak right there. Seems like a strange place to have a fire ring on the side of this mountain. But who knows? Or it might have been one of those little grave sites they were talking about. I don't think we're truly in the canyon yet. I keep thinking we're going to be in it, but we're not. I heard a vehicle over here. They say there's a lot of deer hunters back over here. I don't know. I don't see them. I thought I heard them, but I don't see them. I bet I got phone service here. No, I hear them. I think. Look at that. Sure don't look totally natural, does it? Take a big Indian to move that rock right there. Another deer hunter. I thought I heard him earlier. Probably saying it, you're only supposed to drive on existing roads, I imagine. It's not really the way I pictured this canyon, but maybe I'm not to it yet. But that's Massacre Peak right there, I'm sure. Just keep on going, see what we find. Agnes is kind of thirsty for a change. Somebody in a red truck over there. It's a little too crowded for me. Too many peoples. I'll circle around, see what I can find. That looks like it's been placed there, I think. Maybe not the great big ones, but the other ones. Probably cut for firewood back in the day. I don't know if I was in the right place or not. I'll have to check. I looked on my phone on my OnX Maps, but I couldn't tell for sure. So I decided I'm just going to leave the trails and I'm going to bushwhack. According to the map, there's a spring up here in another canyon, and I'll just climb around here and see if I can get to it. It's kind of rough. Shouldn't be a problem for Big Agnes though, and me. And we might find a lion track up here. Or a deer hunter. Or some old Indian artifacts. Sure see the Indians hiding up here in these boulders. The Apaches, and seeing like that caravan they're talking about coming across through here, because that's got to be where the trail goes, right through there. Through here somewhere. And seeing that caravan coming through here and setting up that ambush, I can see that happening pretty easy. I can work my way right up through there and be on top. Maybe when I get on top, it's easier going. It was pretty rough and rocky and steep. But it almost looks like a little trail going through there. Right up through there. Lots of country. think I can work my way right across there and over the top. And there's supposed to be a spring down there on the bottom. Tell you what, you can hear, like I hear another buggy coming way down there. From up here, you can hear everything. I'm gonna try to follow this ridge on down and see if I can get to that spring down there. All these guys driving around on buggies looking for a deer. I just jumped a buck right there. And he went down, he ran right through those cows. I mean, right through them. And then he just went up and over the hill. I couldn't see how big he was, but he was by himself. And I could see horns on top of his head, but I couldn't tell. They looked like they were not very wide, but high. This is the last day of the season. So he would be a shooter for sure if you hadn't got one. I seen what looked like a trail on this side of the mountain. There's a spring down there in the bottom of this canyon. I just want to go down there and see that. And it looked like this was a trail that went to that spring. It's not bad traveling, really. A little rocky. Look at that, pretty good trail too. And it's wore out deep too, look at that. There you go, it's saved on OnX. It does me good to, I don't see very good on the little screen, although this is a big iPhone. But if I can get back to my office and get on the computer, then I have that big screen. And what it does is it helps me see where I'm at in relation to other things better. Other landmarks or other trails or whatever better. This trail looks like it's been cleared. Like the rocks pulled out of the way. Look at that. I wonder if this is the shortcut that they used if you were just on horseback and you didn't have a buggy or a cart or whatever they used. You just come across through here. I'll check it out. When I come with the pack mule and I do my Butterfield trail ride, this will be the trail I take. Ha, look at it. And I bet the reason being is because there's supposed to be a spring down here. We'll see if it's got water. I haven't had luck here lately with the springs that are marked on the map and them still having water in them. I think a lot of them dried up. That's an old trail. Look how it's been worn out from the rain and stuff and eroded down. Go on, Timmy. No, that's that deer. I bet you 10 to 1 that's that deer. Well, I guess that canyon I rode down was Massacre Canyon. It wasn't near like I thought it would be. I think that's the way they took when they had the carts and the buggies. They went through there because I don't think they could come through here. This is pretty rough, but I believe that if you were on horseback or on mule or something, the pack mule, this is the way you'd cut across because it would probably, you know, shorten up your trip. That trail that went up the side of that mountain over there, it's been there for a long time. And this is a 2-track road. The rancher had put in a drinker over there for his cows. It didn't have any water in it. But there's a spring down there, so I didn't see any water in the spring. I didn't look real hard either. I could have rode up the canyon, but there was no need. So I imagine at some point, I mean, most all these springs in this old desert country, water sources, there's a trail leading to them and away from them. It's pretty important. So, yeah, it was good. I seen some good country. Didn't find any lion sign. Found an old chalky white shed. I'll take it anyway. And seen a buck. Everybody's deer hunting, and I seen that buck. I could have, with a good scoped rifle, I think I could have took him. And what else? Had a good camp last night. That was nice. I enjoyed that. So now I got most everything packed up. I just got to fold that tent up. It had some dew on it this morning, and so, you know, I didn't want to fold it up and it had condensation on the inside a little bit. Not bad, but I wanted to give it a chance to dry up. So, yeah, it was a good day. Just love doing this. I don't know why. Something's wrong with me.